Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have yet another great show for you today, so I hope you're ready. Are you ready for a great show? Are we ready for a great show, good old Don?
Yes, we are.
We're ready for a great show, folks. We're going to talk about can the progressives win for a change? Can the Democrats win for a change? Are they going to do what is necessary to win for a change? We're going to find that out. You know, we're really going to find that out pretty darn soon. So how was your week, my dear friend?
It was a week indeed, my dear friend.
You know, at least you sound a little bit more positive today about it was a week, my dear friend, than you did in the last few times, man. I'm so proud of you. You'd not imagine.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I mean, so anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show today, and I want you to come on board. I want you to listen, but not only do I want you to listen, but I want you to go ahead and tell me what you think about the show. But beforehand, for those people that are listening on Facebook Live right now, is the video moving, or is it static, or is it working? I want to make sure that we have this all set up right, because I want to get some interaction from you guys. So go ahead and drop me a line through the screen if you are on Facebook Live, and tell me how is the video coming through. I am looking at it on one of these things here, and it seems sort of frozen, so I just want to kind of make sure that you guys are seeing this stuff all correctly, all in sync, as it should. Let me ask you to do a favor for me, Don. Could you go ahead and pull up our page and our Politics Done Right Facebook page, look at the video, and just make sure that it's coming through correctly?
Okay.
I appreciate that. Folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. The title of the show today is actually Democratic Establishment for a November Failure. And my consideration, or my theory is that, my God, we are heading into somewhat of a problem unless we get things done like right away, folks. And you know what? That is what, you know, a lot of people have been telling me over the last few days. Egberto, you're probably being too hard on your party. Egberto, you're being too hard. It's frozen? Okay. Egberto, you're being too hard on the party. Egberto, you're saying these things, and we don't want to hear it. At places like the Democratic underground, people have said the same thing as well. And my contention is, look, this is too darn important for us to just let it slide. It is too darn important. So we have to be engaged. So here's the title of the program: Democratic Establishment for a November 2018 Failure. And the idea behind this is we want to tell you folks, no, we don't want a failure. So in order for us not to have a failure, we have to get things right. And this is how we're going to start. The subtitle is DCCC, meaning DCCC, and the Democratic Party don't have much time to fix their act. And it goes as follows. It always amazes what some would view as the incompetence of the Democratic establishment. The reality is, however, I don't think it is incompetent at all. You see, the establishment of both parties share the same interests. You know, if you listen to some of the previous shows, I've always spoken about the rails. What rails am I talking about? There's a left rail and a right rail on a train track. But guess what happens, man? These rails are moving in the same direction. If you see those rails going and they start to make a curve, they curve. But guess what? They curve in the same direction, and that's not what we want. What we want is a change, a real change. That change that Obama spoke about in 2008 must be realized. It was just a partial change, folks. It was just a partial change, but we need the real thing. And that's what progressives are fighting for. And that is what the party, neither the left side of the party or the right side of the party. The right side of the party means whom? The Republicans. The left side mean the Democratic establishment. So here's what I have to say. The reality, I don't think they're incompetent. You see, the establishment of both parties share the same interests. It is to protect the interests of their wealthy benefactors. The job of the Democratic establishment is more difficult, however. It has to keep all those they consider the scraps of humanity. You know, the poor, the people of color, the disabled, the gays, the lower and middle class, and others corral. They have to be able to corral their sect. And you see, they represent the vast majority of the population, so they have a huge job ahead of them. So the establishment of both parties plays tags, you know, they play like they're playing tags. That's what they do. The Democrats corral the free thinkers, while the Republicans corral the right-wing ideologues. Then they all do the bidding of the wealthy benefactors, screwing both the Democratic and Republican base as they all laugh themselves to the bank. And before I continue, you know why it is that I always am respectful to my Republican brothers and sisters, my conservative brothers and sisters. And as much as I'm a left-wing liberal, I am respectful to them. You know why? Because we're in the same boat and they are all screwing us. We're in the same boat, folks. And for us to win this battle, for the progressives to win the battle, we have to realize that, because when you ask people their policies, they're all progressives. And when I read the blog of the week, you're going to see what I'm talking about. When you ask people what they want, when you ask people what their desires are, you realize, you know, they're not going to call themselves progressives. But most of America are progressives, and we're going to go through that in the blog of the week. So, the Tea Party temporarily put a snag in the Republicans' plan. They were disruptive if not successful. You know, we have Trump and his white nationalists that think they're being disruptive. But as they elected Trump is screwing them. So even my white nationalist brothers and sisters, they're going to come to their senses someday. You know, eventually nationalism, racism, all that kind of isms that have been put together in order to screw us all so that a few can roam, eventually, if we do our jobs right, we're going to get them. So that is my goal. My goal is not personal. My goal is not about ego. My goal is not about thinking, oh, you have to be always right. My goal is not any of that. My goal is to say this. I'm going to respect every single one of my brothers, left, right, in between all of that. Because I know, whether they know it or not, we are on the same team. And my goal is eventually to win all these damn folks over. You know why? Because I know what I want, what Don wants, what most of us want, is really what most of us want. What most of us want. So, the Tea Party temporarily put a snag in Republicans' plans. They were disruptive, if not successful. It is time for progressives to do the same on the left. Real Democrats and the entire country will thank us because we stand for support all Americans and will make life easier for all. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig at 2 p.m.
Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew at 6 p.m.
And we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz, very well hosted by
Juan Flores at noon. I'm not even giving people days. This is great. At noon on Tuesdays.
We are going to have to get together and sit down and clean this stuff up on my blog.
Yeah, because we got a lot of stuff on.
Yeah, you as a new director have been just moving things around, and you kind of leave me out of the cold when it's time for me to know this stuff. So I'm going to have to get all this information updated from you sometime later. We have the Human Conditions at 3 p.m. followed by the Free Minstrel Show with Don and Dwayne at 4 p.m. on Fridays on the KPFT HD2 side.
Yes,
I said it right, but I just have to change it in there. And you know, Don and his crew, they're doing a marvelous job out here. I am just happy for what these folks are doing, how they've turned around a whole lot of the station. Folks, look, before I go any further with this, I'm going to propagandize our station here. Listen, man, these guys at the news desk. When is our news? What days is our news?
Our news is Friday at 2.
Let me tell you, right now it's only one day that we give that local news. We have to do better than that because it is so good right now. Folks, when Patrick sends me the link to the news program that we've evolved into, I mean, it's very, very well produced, very well researched. I mean, it contrasts with what you hear on the big networks. The only difference is this time you're hearing the truth. That's the only difference. The news department at KPFT has their act together. If you're a news person, call up our director here, Don, and get involved with the news. The more people we can get involved in crowdsourcing the news, the better the news can be, and the more often we can get the news on. I hope, Don, I'm talking to you on air, stuff that I should be saying behind the scenes, but I hope you're going to get us everyday news 5 days a week pretty darn soon, brother.
I'll work on it.
Okay. I'm saying this on air to put you on the spot purposefully, my brother.
Clearly.
Anyhow, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station, so please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station and that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Absolutely not influenced by the corporatocracy. Folks, please go to our Facebook page, Politics Done Right, and like the Facebook page, Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies. Likewise, please go ahead and like Egberto Willies on Twitter. Follow Egberto Willies on Twitter. But folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks. Please, I beg thee, listen with an open mind, and remember, this is coming from a progressive who knows the country is progressive, who wants progressive values out there, and who want us to get our job done. This is to us. Title of the blog, A Warning to the Democratic Party: You cannot win like this. You cannot win like this. Politics can get dirty, but there's a certain level that must not infect intra-party battles. Unfortunately, the DCCC and the Democratic Party are doing an excellent job of going beyond dirty to vindictive. It so happens that the vindictiveness serves as a cover for what is readily apparent. Real progressives need not apply. It is essential to cauterize the reality in everyone's psyche that most Americans support progressive policies. Theo Anderson wrote in his article, Progressives Are the New Silent Majority. This is what he says. Something remarkable has happened over the last few years. A new silent majority has emerged. Decades after Richard Nixon made that phrase famous. Nixon meant the people whose values were, he said, dominant in American culture but underrepresented in American politics. Calling them the silent majority was a way of channeling the white backlash against the civil rights movement. The new silent majority is defined by the broad consensus that has emerged in the United States around progressive policies. The consensus isn't widely reported. Why would they widely report it? I'm veering off a bit. Why would they report that? That is, to be progressive means that those people at the top, those wealthy folks that have been extracting all this while, will have to pay their fair share. So they're the owners of the media, the mainstream media. So they're not going to tell you this stuff. The consensus isn't widely reported. In fact, it is obscured by the oft-repeated idea that the nation is deeply polarized, as if Americans are torn between support for conservative and progressive policies. They are not. On the battlefield of ideology, conservatives have been routed. On policies, conservatives have been routed. Now, what I am going to tell our progressives, our Democrats out here, is what they have to do. Because they may say, okay, well, if that's the truth, why is it that progressives are not really the ones in Congress? Why is it that progressives are not the ones that are winning? Folks, you know why that is the case? That is the case because of what I said in the entry to this before I read the blog. The establishment of both parties are really one. They're the left rail, the right rail going in the same direction, and what we need is a derailment. Remember that. The progressive consensus cuts across economic and social issues and includes even traditional culture war flashpoints. On most policy questions, polling shows that about three-fifths or more of the public prefers progressive positions. And here they are. Anderson points out that at least three-fifths of Americans support the following: a federally funded healthcare system that provides everyone with insurance, número uno. Número dos, unions should have the same or more influence than they have now. Número tres, limits on campaign spending. Número cuatro, support for renewable energy and climate change. Número cinco, reproductive rights for women. Número seis, LGBT rights. Número siete, higher minimum wage. Número ocho, legalized marijuana. Número nueve, free childcare. 10, a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. All those policies are supported by more than three-fifths of Americans. Think about that, my dear friends. Don't follow what you hear on TV about, oh, the country is center right. The country is center right. That they are conservative. No. A block of people are solidly conservative, but thereafter everything drops off. It's just that you're not going to have somebody say, oh, I'm a liberal, because liberals have been that name has been so corrupted. People are scared to say they are. But then you ask them their values, and their values are not liberal. Their values are progressive. There's an article in the Washington Times, or rather in the New York Times a few weeks ago, that tried to disparage progressives. This guy said, I'm a proud liberal. I'm not a progressive. Liberals are pragmatic. Progressives are idealistic. I am idealistic, brothers and sisters. I am idealistic. You know why? Because it's from idealism that we get all the successes. Being pragmatic gives you Obamacare. Obamacare was kind of okay. But what we need is single-payer Medicare for all. If we had started from single-payer and complete socialized medicine, we would have ended with Medicare for all with private controls. If we had started, instead of starting from the middle, where the only place to go was to the right, we would have been in the right place today. Folks, I need you to understand where we're going here, my brothers and sisters. All of you. Even the ones on the right, including my good racist brothers, and all of that I'm going to bring over, that we are going to eventually show that all these things are social constructs that are messing with your mind, so that those in power can stay in power. Continuing, Americans do not get their wants from the party that, for the most part, have those values as part of their platform. The party does not run candidates that not only support these values but articulate them with assertive messaging. As these candidates emerge, the Democratic establishment is all too ready to squash them under the pretense that progressivism can't win. This year comes with a twinge of vindictiveness. Texas Congressional District 7 is a classic example. The DCCC cut and paste writings by the progressive candidate Laura Mosier, implying that she is a Washington insider who disparages Texas. It was a typical smear one would expect from the right wing, yet the party used it on one of its own candidates. In an interview with Politics Done Right, Moser said that the opposition research on the Republican incumbent John Culberson was much less harsh. Based on the words of the chairman of the DCCC and a Houston Chronicle article that attacked Moser, the dog whistles tooted loudly. The leadership should heed this warning. It is clear this DCC opposition to Mosier is meant to be a proxy attack on any Democrat who has any affinity for Bernie Sanders' policies. For the article, it seems he brought it up out of the blue. These guys just won't let it go. There will be no blue wave unless both wings of this party come to an acceptably happy place. Hacks like Lujan makes it extremely difficult. The DCCC even resorted to right-wing tactics to smear a good candidate. You do not do that if you're trying to unite the party for a wave. You just don't do that. And that's what they did. You don't do that. And who is the DCCC supporting in District 7? Then you have to ask yourself that question, right? They are supporting a corporate lawyer working for a firm with a dubious record that every progressive would normally scorn. And this is not to disparage the opponent. This is just a statement. In fact, these guys constantly say the following. They say we don't want to have this other person because they're unelectable. The Republicans are going to run these particular ads against them. Well, what kind of ads do you think they're going to run against a corporate lawyer who was against, whose firm was against labor? What kind of ads do you think they're going to run? They're going to run ads that not only bring out their base, but look at those people who would normally vote for labor and says, why would I vote for her if her firm did XYZ? I am not saying that that will be the closing case. What I'm trying to say is if you look at why they are trying to attack one candidate over another, it makes no sense. Because if you do oppo on both of them, you will find things that the Republicans are going to use and use and use and twist in many different directions that effectively become lies. Those two candidates are good candidates. One is more progressive than the other. But they're good candidates. Okay? But neither one has the advantage to win in any major way. And because my theory is America is much more progressive than anyone would want to believe, I would say progressives are the ones who have it this year. Progressives are the ones who have it this year just based on the polls. Then we get to Levi Tillman, a progressive in Colorado 6th Congressional District, is suffering similar discouragement from the Democratic Party establishment. Here is an accomplished and articulate millennial, young new blood, who was a very progressive Obama administration alum. He also appeared on Politics Done Right to discuss his well-established run-ins with the Democratic Party establishment. Tillman had Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the House, all but tell him to get out of the race. And who does the Democratic Party want to run in his place? Levi wrote a Sentinel article titled Levi Tillman, The Swamp Comes to Colorado, that described the party's chosen one, the one that is supposed to be more electable. And here's what Levi said. But the DCCC was actively working behind the scenes. They were grooming a white-collar criminal defense lawyer who didn't even live in the district and had defended payday lenders, fracking companies, and scam artists for the race. What do you think those commercials from the Republicans are going to look like for that guy if he wins in Colorado? A guy that was supporting payday lenders. The same constituency of Democrats because, again, they're not the wealthy rich or anything like that. By late spring of 2017, my campaign was regularly being told that the DCCC had chosen their guy, that he was receiving support, training, and help with endorsements from the DCCC, but publicly, both the DCCC and their candidate denied this. The insider drumbeat was so intense that in June 2017, I commented publicly on it to Roll Call, a political newspaper. And I said, this is Levi talking. I said, I think that worst possible thing we can do is to attempt to clear the field. I said, that is not the logic of democracy. A few weeks later, one of Jason Crow's staunchest allies, the lead, or rather the head of the National Abortion and Reproductive Rights Action League, Colorado NARAL, coordinated a spurious Federal Election Commission complaint against our campaign, that's the Levi campaign, a complaint that cost almost $6,000 in legal fees to respond to. So they tried to cripple him in every single direction. They forced him to spend money he didn't have as an independent candidate, an independent Democratic candidate. They forced him, they disparaged his name. They did all kinds of things. The next month, a local Politico confided that the DCCC's regional press spokesperson had been secretly undermining my campaign. That is what they did. That is what they did to their own. The pattern is clear. The grassroots need not apply. Lawyers with electability problems are electable, but real progressives are dismissed based on dubious electability reasons that bears nothing to reality. The generic poll, according to CNN, is at 3%, favoring the Democrats, but within the margin of error. The enthusiasm gap has closed as well. It is not hard to figure out why. Firstly, the media is concentrating on Russia, Stormy Jones, and issues that do not immediately affect the personal economies of the poor and the middle class. Stormy Daniels. Oh, I said Stormy Jones. Oh my God. Stormy Daniels. I got to fix that. Secondly, Democrats are not bending the message when they get the opportunity on TV and other avenues to issues that matter to most Americans. And thirdly, and most importantly, arms of the establishment Democratic Party like the DCCC are choosing flawed candidates more in line with the plutocratic class than the average middle class and poor American. Do you wonder why the favorability of the Democrats are dropping? Do you wonder why the gap between Democrats and Republicans are falling? 3 things, folks. 3 things. Some of them well, 2 of them self-inflicted, the other one inflicted by the media. But the thing about it, even one inflicted by the media, we can solve. Because you know what? They always want politicians on TV. Every time they get me on TV, what do you think about Stormy Daniels? Well, I think Stormy Daniels shows the kind of character that Donald Trump has. But you know what? Stormy Daniels does not feed the middle class or the poor. So in as much as Stormy Daniels is an important story, what I really want to talk about is I want to tell you that we need to start worrying about student loan debt. That big change that Mulroney did today is going to hurt our kids. It's going to hurt all those people with student loans. Then people would see, if you turn every story, even when they're talking Stormy Daniels, when they're talking Russia, if you give a quick answer on the story, and then you move it to what are you going to do for the middle class? What are you going to do for the poor? What are you going to do for the struggling mother? What are you going to do for the struggling father? What are you going to do for the struggling student? Then the people are listening to you. Hey, I want to get those people elected. The gap is going to grow because we know already the Republicans show what they're going to do. They pass a tax cut scam, and the people now had 3 months to see that, you know what, there's no more money in the bank account. And then they're going to pay back 3 times because the rich people brought their money back from overseas, virtually taxed. Well, they paid a little bit of tax on it, but not what they were supposed to pay. So that's one payment there. The second payment is, guess what? They got a big tax cut. Those corporations got a big tax cut, and personally, they got a big tax cut, the wealthy. But guess what? There's a third way that they're going to make a killing. And that is because that tax cut came with deficit spending, who are the people that are going to be lending the money to the American government? The rich people. So now they're going to lend us back the money that we gave them out of the tax cut, and then we are going to pay them interest on that money as well. Wow. Doesn't it feel great to be rich? The poor people pay you 3 times, brother. 3 times they're paying you. And you sit down. For anybody who are like, tax cut, I want the tax cuts. I support all these people. Do you really? Do you really realize that they're milking you? Do you really realize that they're pilfering you? Folks, you can't let the fallacies or the false information that they put out on TV fool you. You have to be in the game. You have to stay in the game. You have to make sure that stations like KPFT that are going to tell you the truth, the unadulterated truth, not lying through the corporate media where they have to tell you these things because they want that money from those commercials. They want that money from the commercials. They need the Viagra. They need the Clarinex. They need all those monies. They need that. So they're not going to tell you that these people are ripping you off. But we are. We're going to tell you the truth. We're going to tell you that everything you learn, including what you learned as an MBA, if you're an MBA student, the things that you learned as an MBA, I am sorry, a lot of that wasn't true. I could show you some stuff on microeconomics and macroeconomics that it's only true because they make it so. That's for another day. Okay? Now let me finish the blog of the week so I can start taking some calls. I know some of you have been waiting for a long time, but I needed to get this out. I needed to get this out. Republicans have yet to launch an all-out assault, and the poll numbers are already closing. The gap is closing. One can only expect that when the outright assault begins, how effective it will be given their track record. The Democratic establishment need to step out of the way and let the young bloods who they are discouraging to emerge and bring freshness and enthusiasm into the political system again. I am tired of the old folks, man. Nancy Pelosi's out there talking about, I am going to be the speaker again. Look, where is her bench? I love Nancy. She did a great job. She's probably the best legislator ever. But where is her bench? You have to recreate yourself. You cannot be selfish. You have to recreate yourself. Who goes along? Who follows her? We have to do it, folks. We have to. Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, the guy, the Senator Schumer. These guys need to be gone from leadership. They need to stay and be the folks that are going to give the new leaders the experienced shoulder they need to lean on. But they don't need to be the leaders. We need young people. You know, the Republicans brought in a Paul Ryan. I mean, not a very smart dude. I mean, the guys like to make it look like he's smart, but he doesn't have much upstairs. But at least they brought a young guy on. We have to learn. We have to have a bench. Where's our bench? Anyhow, the Democratic establishment need to step out of the way and let the young blood who they are discouraging to emerge and bring freshness and enthusiasm into politics again. Barring that, America is likely to stick with the devil it knows. And sticking to the devil it knows mean, you know what? No blue wave, not even a blue ripple, but status quo, where we're at. Folks, the telephone number, and sorry for taking so long, but I needed to get this out there. I wanted to get this out there. So my callers, you can slap me later on. 713-526-5738. Let's go to Johnny, line 3. Johnny. No coughing, Johnny. You got to start talking, brother.
Oh, okay. You just put me on. I didn't realize it. Let me rush and turn off this here radio real quick. I'm outside. We just went to the mailbox.
Okay, folks. Telephone number 713-526-5738. We have open line 713. I know I was long-winded today, but I really wanted to get that out and ask you guys to kind of digest what I've said. If you didn't come from the beginning, please, folks, go to the podcast as well. Go to politicsdoneright.com. I'll have that out later on. But please listen to this one today. Go ahead, my brother.
And make sure when you send him an email, call him on the phone the next week and make sure he got it.
And you know what? Let me tell you something, Johnny. After you told me that you sent me that email so many times, and after being embarrassed for so many times, I went ahead and called up and checked my link, the info at politicsdoneright.com, and realized that GoDaddy had a bug within the MX record that was transferring that email, and that's why I did not receive the email.
Well, that's okay. I believe in the United States Postal Service. And
I got it. I got it today. In fact, I showed Don and I said, you know what? Janice did say he was sending it. And you know what? He did send it by good old slow mail.
That's right. Republicans, I dare you to do something to the post office besides try to defund it and micromanage it.
Go, my brother.
Not why I called.
Yes.
I agree. Obviously, I agree with everything you said about the economic side of the tax scam.
Yes, sir.
And how we can't fund anything like universal health care or any other good thing that society needs to function because of this, everything going to the top people.
Right.
But I take issue with your top of the show, that railroad analogy. If we derail the car, we're going to have casualties.
Yeah.
And because we don't have universal health care, and we don't have universal tax code with no loopholes to pay for it, that's going to be a problem.
Why do you have to take me so literally with the derailment? The derailment simply means go in a different direction so that we now have exactly what you're saying. I want universal health care. The Democratic establishment does not want single-payer health care for Medicare for all. So my derailment means it's as follows, Johnny, and hear me out here. And I'm glad you said that in case there are other people who misunderstood it. So thank you for giving me the chance to clarify it. When you have a left rail and a right rail, I call the Democrats the left rail, the Democratic establishment the left rail, the Republican establishment the right rail, but they're the rail going in the same direction. I'm saying I want a derailment, which means I want the left rail to move off and go into a different direction. We don't need just basic universal health care. We need single payer Medicare for all funded by the government that we're all of us pay taxes into. That's what I'm trying to say, my friend.
When I say universal health care, I mean that interchangeably with single payer.
Good.
Or expanded and improved Medicare for all. They're all the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
Good.
So instead of going with the analogy of the railroad derailing the track with casualties and no health care to pay for the injuries, how about we quietly take over the railroad car at the control center? In other words, you should get the damn Republicans out.
Okay, you know what? I am not going to sit down here and argue with my good friend as far as analogies are concerned. You know why? Because we're asking for the same thing. So, you know, Johnny, if you want to call it, what are you calling it? We're going to just take it out and shift directions. I'll take your nomenclature if you want me to. I don't have a problem, brother. I just want us to get to the right place. Okay?
Okay.
Whoa. Did you hang it? Oh. Johnny, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there, but you were accidentally derailed by Don, not me. Anyhow, Kay, come on in. You're in number 4.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I haven't seen one thing that any Republican has done for the poor and working class. And as long as Republicans are in office, it'll just get worse for for poor and working class. So, majorly we need to get rid of the Republicans and vote them out. And I think that's pretty clear. It should be pretty clear. And if Stormy Daniels can help turn people's opinions about the Republicans negatively, then I'm all for it. Or anything else that anybody else has to say about a Republican.
Now, look,
please say it.
Now, let me tell you, first of all, Kay, there's nothing that you said that I disagree with. Now, as far as Stormy Daniels is concerned, my only thing is that whenever Democrats or progressives are on air talking about Stormy Daniels, I want them to remember that Stormy Daniels we can use as just a tool, but we have to talk to the poor, we have to talk to the middle class, and we have to let them know that if they give us the honor of their vote, what we're going to do for them. That's what I'm talking about. So I think we're on the same channel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Definitely. It's just, common sense. A Republican's not going to help.
Absolutely.
And as long as they're in office, it'll just get worse. So we have to vote against a Republican.
Thank you so kindly for your call, Kay. You keep listening, you keep calling, and remember, we are going to get this stuff done, all right?
I hope so. Thank you.
Have a great day. Okay, let's go to Fred, línea número 5. Come on in, Fred.
How are you doing today? Listen, I have a couple of comments. First of all, this Stormy Daniels thing is just a distraction.
Yes, it is.
It's just turning everybody's head around and blah, blah, blah. And the big thing I see happening is the Republican Party and the white people, let's put it that way, is what it is, are seeing the last chance to hold on to power. And what's happening, all the old Republican senators are quitting to make way for the white supremacist people that are going to come in. And so the Russia comes in, white supremacist Russia, no, we have blonde hair, blue eye too. Well, like you guys, let's take over the world. And this is what's going on right now. And this is what's the next elections. It's going to be all these young Republican supremacists that are going to be taking the place.
Let me tell you something, though. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, Fred. I actually don't think, look, let me tell you something. If you listen to my show before, I always talk about of race being a social construct, and it's always used to play a game, right? In other words, right now the white nationalist kind of ideology is being used by Trump to win, right? Because he's using the people's carnal belief that somebody's taking something away from them. Okay, but here's the deal. Trump has no desire. The Republicans have no desire of giving those poor white people anything. They're not going to. It's not like, okay, elect us and we're going to start giving you money. All of this is a distraction. This is a new thing to hold on to power. Okay? In other words, in other words, there's never going to be a white supremacist America. Well, let me correct that. We are a white supremacist.
But they're going to try to make it happen.
No, I need to correct something. America is white supremacist, but what I'm saying is it's not going to be more white supremacists that now they're going to be out in the open wearing, I mean, those things have always been there. Yes, they're currently emboldened, but I don't see that as something that the plutocracy really wants effected, because the plutocracy has nothing to offer the white supremacists. I mean, nothing. They have absolutely.
No, but they can use the government, or the Trump or whatever Democrat or Republican Party can use them, the supremacists, to fit their hands.
Yes.
And one way would be to declare martial law.
I know. Let me tell you, in the short term,
if there was a war, I really believe there's this big, great American shootout is going to be happening.
That could
people are going to be out with guns everywhere and shooting everybody else.
Let me tell you, that's not going to happen in the near term, because the balance of power in the country right now, and when I'm talking about just racially, people wanted to go ahead and there are enough white people right now that are real progressives that
well, let's hope so. I mean,
I'm saying I am. No, what I'm saying is there's not enough. I mean, there are too many. There is enough that would prevent the all-out racial chaos in this country right now. I mean, you can have some subsidy sub areas that'll occur in, but in the aggregate, I don't see that as happening. And the second thing about it is, right now, the white supremacists are being played. Okay, and my biggest concern is what happens when they find out that they are being played, because they think that.
I don't think they feel that way, because they can put all their bubbles in one bag.
I know, but what I'm saying right now, they don't.
Say us is that the supremacists are old and they're going to die off.
No. Actually, a lot of the white supremacists are the young ones now that are trying to recover.
Also, but the one is
I know, but Fred, here's my deal, and then I'm off to go to Paul. But here's the deal. Here's the deal, Fred. I think my contention is that the plutocracy has nothing for the white supremacists, and eventually they're going to find that out. And when they find that out, it's not like they're going to somehow turn into no longer being white supremacists. It's that they're going to get pissed off. But anyhow, I got to go, Fred. I appreciate your call. Please keep listening. Please keep calling. Okay, my brother?
All right, my friend.
You have a great day now. All right, let's go ahead and go to Cheryl, Paul, line 4. Come on in, Paul. Paul, come
Hello.
on. Yes, you're in, Paul.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Sure. Hey, have you seen the graphic going around on the internet that shows the number of people who did not vote in the election?
Yes, I did, and most of the people didn't vote.
Right. So I have an idea.
Uh-huh.
This isn't original with me, but I have an idea to solve the problem. And, I've heard you in the last few minutes use the word plutocracy.
Yes.
And that's the way I see it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, both the Democrats and the Republicans, the people who are really entrenched in office, who've been there for a long time, don't want to leave because, they're career politicians.
Right.
So, I propose let's start a new party called the Anti-Incumbent Party.
Mm-hmm.
Because, our entire intention is to vote people out of office.
Right.
So the platform is nobody gets to stay more than one term.
Okay. Let me tell you this. If you want to do that, right? If you have a structure in which that is possible. In other words, what I tell people most of the times is to go into one of these parties and take it over. That's what I normally say. Get into the party and take it over, because those structures are already built. But there could be something that I don't know that you do and others do who believe in that type of platform, if you could create that structure that's going to really do that, you'll have a big following.
Well, yeah, I think so. Because I mean, I'm just trying to throw the idea out there and see if get some feedback on it. Because to me, it seems like we have within the current two-party system, most people don't have very much power. We don't have very much power.
Right.
But and the people who are currently in office, especially the career politicians or those who want to be, are not. They have a vested interest to keep us from voting them out. But if there are so many people who don't vote, if we provide them a actual way that their vote can count, and I would say we don't care who you vote for, whether it's Democrat or Republican. Vote the party of your choice. You just can't vote whoever's currently the incumbent.
I got it, brother. Look,
anyway.
I got it. Thank you very much for your call, my friend. That is good. And like I tell you, you have ideas. By the way, go to politicsdoneright.com or the Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies Facebook page and throw your messages out there too. We have a whole lot of messages coming from people, but I have so many calls. I'm doing two things at the same time.
Sure,
Facebook,
no worries.
Thank you, my friend. Facebook, let me tell you guys, I may not be able to get to you right away, but I always get to you. Okay, Cheryl, come on in. You're in.
Yes, I would like for you to comment about the same day that the treaty was
signed.
I'm sorry. The disagreement was broken with Iran. The same day that happened, the Ebola funding stopped, and there's been Ebola outbreaks in the Congo and other parts of Africa. And so I thought that was kind of hidden, and I thought that was wrong. So I would like you to comment on that. On another note, also Boehner, remember Boehner?
Yes.
He actually is now
supporting marijuana.
Part of a marijuana company.
Who would have thought it?
So many people in jail. So we have these people who are Caucasian who are moving out of politics and going into things that they put people into jail for. So I would like that commented on because it does feel like almost a white supremacist thing that is more global as well as local as well as national. And I do wish we did have Medicaid for all, but, that's, I don't know what's going on with the Democrats, but in regards to that, could you please comment on the other two?
Okay, let me first say that Medicare for All is something that we're all working on, Cheryl, and we're going to bust our butts to make sure that becomes a reality. Secondly, on the issue with the Ebola and the the Ebola and when Trump immediately broke the treaty, I have to be frank with you, I had not heard that. Now you gave me some research that I have to go do because
it was on BBC News.
Excellent. Well, I am going to go look that. You see, I have the feed with all these foreign news as well, but there's so much. It's just great that I have you guys, great listeners, that every now and then you come and you tell me, hey, did you hear about this? I didn't. Well, now I'll go research it and I'll have something. I'll put something up on my Politics Done Right page on Facebook for that. And the third item was, I'm getting old. What was the third item again?
It had to do with Boehner and all these cases now.
You are so right. You are
then here they are, they're running marijuana companies.
You know something? Look, are you white?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm black, and so I just think it's appalling. My background is human service, and I used to try to keep people out of jail, but these people are going to jail still for smoking marijuana, while these former politicians and other bigwigs who are Caucasian, globally, not just nationally, are making money off of heroin, making money off marijuana. This is amazing.
Right.
So I want you to comment on that.
Yeah, the reason I asked that, right, is because, it is amazing to me when I see something like that as well. Because all these things that were so evil, when it is time for somebody to make money where they don't have to answer to conservative politicians or anything like that, suddenly it is okay. It is suddenly okay. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I really don't have anything else to add to that, because that is the truth. I mean, it's not only Boehner that suddenly saw the light. I mean, you take it almost happened automatically, right? Goop just started to talk about how good marijuana was, and then and everybody's on the bandwagon now.
Exactly.
You know how many families got destroyed?
That's right, and are still being destroyed.
And alcohol is a much more dangerous substance
drug.
than
it's a drug. Yes.
Yeah. And and you can get how many people had their car wrecked because they were high?
Exactly.
Anyhow.
And on one quick note, NPR yesterday also was the one that mentioned the agreement that was broken that stopped the funding for Ebola, and they mentioned it when they were talking about the outbreak in Congo.
Okay, look.
So I thought I'd share that.
I appreciate that. You just gave me some homework. Thank you so kindly for calling, Cheryl. You keep on listening, keep on calling, okay?
Okay, you take care. Bye-bye.
Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and go back to... Oh, wait, I left MO... That's on top. Okay, I'll go to MOD after Johnny. Johnny, come on in.
Real quickly, I was just about to give you my solution before you accidentally derailed me.
How did I derail you?
Yeah. Anyway, well, you said it. I heard it on the radio when I turned it on. But anyway, the gentleman who called after I did, he mentioned about an alternative party.
Uh-huh.
So we have one in place. It's called the Justice Democrats. So he Googles justicedemocrats.org, and he can link to that through the TYT network or tyt.com. And there's also an activist organization also working to derail the corporate Democrats. They're called wolfpack.org.
Know who they are, yeah. Actually, Wolfpack, I know the founder, yeah.
Democrats, they're flip side of the same coin.
Right.
And they will be a great mechanism to take over the infrastructure you refer to as the Democratic Party. So there's that other caller's solution right there. We don't need to keep reinventing the wheel 1,000 times. And that's all I got.
Johnny, you see, I tell you, I'll always have this real smart callers and smart listeners, man. Yeah, all the time. Folks, again, we have a few open lines. Thank you for calling again, Johnny. You have a good one, buddy.
Okay, and remember one thing about the news department.
Yes?
They don't have enough volunteers. It's not a function of management. It's a function of available volunteers in the community.
Absolutely so. And you remember to...
Hey, dragging on Don now.
Johnny, and you remember to put your volunteering butt in there, too. All right, buddy?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you all about that in person next time I see you.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Bye-bye. All right, MOD, talk to me.
Hello.
Talk to me.
Boy, that was a 50-minute wait. I got on 2 minutes after the hour started.
All right, let me tell you what happened, man. I'm to the side of the thing, and that the first thing you're up there, and it's hidden. That's why I turned and looked and said, "Oh, MOD's there. Come on in, brother."
It's all good. So if we talked about Syria, talked about the indiscriminate bombing, and I know you got to chuckle at it because you said nothing's going to happen because Russia's there. So when the sirens went off yesterday at 2 or 3:30 our time, and now from Golan Heights to Damascus, they're bombing. There's a war going on right now, and where, as far as Russia, to your point, guess where Benjamin Netanyahu was at 6:30 our time yesterday?
Don't know. Where was he?
He's I'm looking at the video of him in St. Petersburg with Putin doing a military parade, including an over-Nazi victory for the Red Army. So if Bibi's in Russia while there's basically World War III starting in Syria with Israel indiscriminately bombing, this is going on. You don't hear about it in the news. Well, I saw some little leaps of it so far. So do you think nothing's going to come of that still from our last talk, or...
No, I at this point in time, I still don't think anything is going to come of it yet. I could be wrong, MOD. I could be absolutely wrong, but in my humble opinion, no. MOD, I got 2 more calls I got to hit before.
Go ahead. If I call before the hour and wait 55 minutes like I do today...
It's my fault. I'm
going to call, yeah.
Hey, okay, no. MOD. I screwed up, okay? It's my fault. All right, let's see. Let's go to line number 2. William, come on in real quickly. William, I don't have much time.
Yeah, this is real quick. It was on the news today. 37,000 seniors and low-income people are going to get their walking papers next week because the legislatures hasn't put any money in Medicare.
Yeah, how many people?
It is they were living off of.
How many is it again?
37,000.
37,000, and that is all over the states or just Texas?
This is Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay, great.
They're headed this way.
All right, William. Thank you for calling, my brother.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, James, come on in. Line number 3.
Yeah, thank you, Alberto. Take my call. Let me hold y'all the progressive feet to the fire for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Listen, to me, you know, that the progressive word is kind of new to me from the last, I guess, 3 years, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Okay. To me, here's what I see progressive as, straddle the fence. Okay? It's like, you know, you're not Democrat, but you're not Republican.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of Democrat, but not really. So, I mean, how is anybody supposed to get behind that? To me, it's not like a progressive is a Democrat with different views. Or
No, can I explain?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. What you're describing really is a liberal, okay? A liberal is the one that straddles the fence. And here's what I mean by that. And there was a great article that I hated in the New York Times, and it was a liberal coming out to say why he is a liberal and not a progressive. And he says progressives are idealistic. They're not willing to compromise on their values. And their values are the same values that liberals have, but liberals will compromise as needed. So the exact definition that you just gave is what the liberal is. And you know, in fact, there's a Bernie delegate friend of mine in Austin that kind of explained that to me as well. She looked at me, and I always called myself a liberal, wanting to reclaim the word liberal. And she said, Egberto, there's nothing to reclaim in liberal. What you need to do is go ahead and say who you really are, progressive. And Don wants to say something real quickly.
Yeah, it's more than just being a Democrat or a Republican. Liberal, conservative, those are views,
right?
Not
parties, right?
So you can be a progressive, you can even be a liberal,
right,
and still not be part of the Democratic Party,
right?
Not agree with what the Democratic Party stands for. So that's a bigger thing than I think that's the problem with the country right now is going, oh, you're not a Democrat? Well, get out of here. You're not a Republican? Get out of here. That's not helping.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Progressive. Do progressive believe in choice, free?
Absolutely,
choice?
Absolutely.
What do you call it?
A woman's choice.
Yeah, you know, choice to have abortion.
Of course, yeah, we do.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: do they believe in? Do they believe in? Do they believe that it's not? Do progressive?
I got to go, James, real quick.
Okay. Do progressive believe that there shouldn't be abortion?
No, they don't believe that. They're for the woman has a complete choice. We don't get into that. But I got to go. It's a hard stop now. James, thank you for calling. This is Egberto Willies, and this is Politics Done Right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.